Today in the crypto space, we see Bitcoin getting a bit of a bounce at the bottom of the range, Ethereum also at around $2,500, and the rest of the crypto space looking pretty good with some retracements throughout the market that we need to take advantage of. In today's video, I want to talk about the general market. I want to use Bitcoin as a leading indicator, but more importantly, I want to talk about one project, one altcoin that is retracing, and it could be looking for that bounce very, very soon, and that project is called Myria. So you know what? Let's talk about the news, let's analyze the charts, and let's strategize to capitalize. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike, and let's get right into it, guys. If you're new to the channel, welcome. On the channel, we talk about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the altcoins, looking for opportunities, whether we go up or down, bearish or bullish, it doesn't matter. All we want to do is stay one step ahead of the market so that we can capitalize on any of this volatility. And if you appreciate the strategy, subscribe to the channel, click the bell so you don't miss out on any of my future videos, including the live streams at 7:30 Eastern, where we talk about crypto news and price action. Guys, if you have any projects you want me to cover here on the channel, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. You can hit me up on the socials. The links are in the description. Better yet, guys, join the Discord. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. All right, guys, let's begin. Let's see what's going on here with this market. Bitcoin still kind of going sideways. Got a bit of a bounce at the bottom of the range. It's up approximately 1%. Nothing to celebrate over. However, guys, if Bitcoin gets a bit of a bounce and Bitcoin is showing a bit of strength and Ethereum shows much more strength, guys, that's a good indication that we're potentially entering an altcoin season. And finally, the overall sentiment is agreeing with this idea. Guys, here on the channel, we've been talking about this potential setup for the last couple of days. And ultimately, what we're doing is trying to, track the market and stay one step ahead, of course. But we're going to be looking at the Bitcoin dominance. We look at the Ethereum price. We look at Bitcoin to kind of give us an overall sentiment of what this market is looking forward to in the upcoming days. If we do see this volatility that we are expecting, I'm also going to expect altcoins to take full advantage of the fact that Bitcoin is not showing any strength. Let's look at this general market. Binance looking good. BNB token looking really, really good. Looking for that potential breakout, continuation to the upside, up approximately 5%. In fact, right now, BNB is looking stronger than a lot of the other tokens here at the top 100. Chainlink looking a bit of looking a little strong here, up 2.5%. Maybe the Oracle narrative could be around the corner. Of course, I've been looking at Pyth and scaling into my positions there on the Pyth network, but generally speaking, we can see Chainlink, we can see Pyth, we can see the Graph, we can see many projects potentially showing strength in the next little while related to that Oracle narrative. We have Toncoin looking pretty good here, up 5% as well, waking up out of nowhere. Uniswap looking good. We have Cosmos still going within range. I think Cosmos honestly hasn't really ran and give us the strength that I really anticipated it to have. So maybe in the next wave to the upside, we can see Cosmos Atom actually wake up here. Near Protocol grinding slowly to the downside, another very undervalued network. So ultimately, I'm expecting that project to make a nice resilient bounce to the upside very soon. Optimism holding up pretty good. As long as it holds up like this, going sideways, there's nothing really here to fear. The whole Ethereum narrative should be very, very strong at the current moment. Again, given the fact that Bitcoin fell significantly and these altcoins, including Ethereum, barely flinched, gives us this indication that the market is much more bullish in alts and generally maybe anticipating the altcoin season. We have Injective, nice rounded bottom, maybe looking for another impulsive move to the upside. Filecoin grinding slowly to the downside, but again, looking pretty good as long as it's within structure. Tia Celestia, although it is such a bullish project, guys, buying into these tops is very, very dangerous, right? Even though I'm claiming that we could get into an altcoin season very soon, it doesn't mean that Tia is going to be one of the top gainers. It already ran significantly, guys, and the overall market cap right now is at about $2.9 billion, so it's quite large at the current moment, and don't expect some much more growth over the next little while. Obviously, the bull run will bring a lot of volume, a lot more market cap into the total, and the question is how much could TIA actually get out of the overall market cap. But generally speaking, guys, I think TIA in the short term is slightly overheated, so let it come down, let it get some good entry levels, and then we'll consider buying the dip. Immutable X grinding. We have Arbitrum going sideways. Again, another sign of strength overall for the Ethereum network projects, the Ethereum narrative. That's pretty good. Caspa coming down to slightly lower levels. If Caspa starts coming down even further, I would consider DCAing and accumulating even more. I have Stacks grinding down. Bitcoin narrative, of course, falling alongside Bitcoin. And you can see the overall market is giving us some opportunities, but also some opportunities to buy the dips and take some profits. That's why we're getting a bit of sideways here. Some random pop-offs like Say is doing pretty good, guys. If you missed out on my deep dive on Say over the weekend, on Sunday I released this one, guys. Go check it out. It'll give you the fundamental bullishness that you need in order to get into this project with a bit of confidence, guys. I release deep dives every Sunday. Last one was Actis. The one before that, Neon, guys. If you're into Neon, go check out that deep dive. I got deep dives coming out every week, guys, so make sure that you subscribe and click that bell. All right, let's continue. We have Rocket Pool should be going sideways nicely here based on the ETH narrative again. Ordi's kind of choppy, not bad considering Bitcoin narrative is not doing the greatest in the last little while. Algo's another very undervalued in my opinion. Maybe not undervalued, but very overlooked blockchain at the current moment. And it could get its moment. We could see all of a sudden a bit of growth into its ecosystem. Maybe its first meme coin, maybe its first DEX, and all of a sudden we see a bit of a pop to the upside. Render showing a bit of weakness in the last little while, down approximately 8%. You know, maybe buy the dip opportunities, but I'm going to be very, very patient here on Render. Letting it fall, I'll accumulate at lower levels, but again, I'll be looking at other projects that are smaller cap within the same narrative, because the narrative is still very, very hot. I think decentralized processing, computing power is a very, very hot topic, and at the end of the day, it has a lot of applications like for AI and so on, and gaming and so on. So I feel like that's a hot narrative that needs to be, you know, basically addressed when we get those dips. Sui looking pretty good, nice and strong, up 61% in the last 7 days. In my opinion, right now is not the time to get in, because you might become exit liquidity. Here on the channel, we focus on buying bottoms and accumulating at great risk to reward ratios, and one of them could be BitTensor Tau. Tau was one of the top gainers in the last little while. It ran up significantly. However, guys, it's been retracing nice and slowly in the last little while, trying to find its bottom. And then as soon as we get a sign of a bottom, guys, I would suggest that you start DCAing little by little, deploying a bit of capital a bit at a time. Guys, I wouldn't mind taking a look at Tau tonight at 7:30 Eastern. And if you have any projects you want me to cover, that is a great time and place to make that request, so that I can put your request in top priority. Tau looking pretty good. All right, what else do we have here? A lot of sideways price action, as we can see. A lot of sideways, lot of sideways. Tezos finally waking up, 29% to the upside. Guys, wow, what a sleeping giant. Finally, I'll be fully transparent. I'm not big here on Tezos. It's not something that it's not a project that I really focus on, or, you know, have a bag of, or anything like that. But when you see a nice 30% pop to the upside, guys, all it is congratulations, and take some profit, protect those gains. We continue going down. Beam is looking pretty good. I do have a bag of this. Nice 10% move to the upside. Still within range though. We got to wait to see if this thing's actually going to break some structure and make a higher high. That would be really, really great for the price. DYDX grinding slowly. A lot of sideways throughout the market here. Chili's, another one that's up 20% today, guys. I'm not fond of Chili's either. It did me wrong in the previous bull run, in the sense that I had high expectations leading to sporting events, that I expected some good bullish price action. It didn't happen. And you know what? It left a bit of a sour note, and at the end of the day, I'm not interested. So great on you if you got in at the bottom of the range here on Chili's. It's up 20%. Congrats anyway. But at the end of the day, I'm looking for other opportunities. We have PancakeSwap still going sideways. I am hopeful that PancakeSwap will continue representing the Binance Smart Chain, the BNB token, the BNB ecosystem. And PancakeSwap is still burning, still doing its thing, still very active. So a full recovery to about $40 at previous highs is very, very possible here. So to just keep in mind that previous projects that are still kicking around, still doing their thing, it can still pretty much have a nice recovery and some great price action to come, especially in DeFi. DeFi is not going anywhere. In fact, I think it just got started. All right, guys, overall the market, pretty sideways. You got to admit, some nice random gainers, some good retracements throughout the market, but generally speaking, very very sideways and very hesitant. I think the market is not willing to take a bit of risk right now, given that Bitcoin is kind of going sideways. All right, guys, let's take a look at Bitcoin and see what's going on here. I know you want to talk about charts, so let's get into it. You can see Bitcoin still within that range, very sideways. This is the daily time frame, and you can see that we came down to the bottom of the range. And yesterday I let you know that it wasn't the time to take risk, even if you were getting short. Why? Because we were at the bottom of the range, and the likelihood is, statistically speaking, that we could get a reaction to the upside. Range bound price action right here at the bottom, at the bottom of the range. Expect a bit of a bounce, and that is what we're getting at the current moment. But we can't negate the fact that we're still getting a massive bearish divergence here on the daily. Okay, so let's look at this in a little bit more detail, and then we'll talk about the project of today, which is Myria. All right, let's take a look at this. Honestly, the daily is not really giving me much, in the sense that, you know, we got the divergence, higher highs on the price action, lower highs on the RSI, and the MACD doing the same thing, giving us a double confirmation of bearish divergence. And look at this MACD, how bearish it looks. EMAs are facing down, red histogram bars to the downside, and the RSI is still grinding and potentially might be exiting this chop zone at about 50% and getting oversold. If it gets oversold, expect a further dip, and that we can come down to about, I would say, first stop would be at about 38k, maybe down all the way down to 33. Of course, we have to see how it goes. And my absolute bearish price target, of course, guys, big picture, and will take some time, is perhaps even coming down to about 25. Okay, and we have to anticipate these opportunities. If it does happen, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to be prepared? Are you psychologically prepared? Are you economically prepared to buy the dip? Do you have a plan? Are you going to be buying the dips, or are you going to be just, you know, holding on for dear life? Regardless of what it is, I think 25k would be an absolute opportunity that we could get here in this market for a nice confirmation low, a higher low, and it would be absolutely good. It could come down a little bit more, but one step at a time. What I'm really looking forward to is seeing the daily oversold, and then from there we'll start looking for horizontal support. Right now it's not even there, so let it see what happens. It could be that oversold conditions are at about 34k, and then we'll be buying the dips, but not on Bitcoin, guys. I won't be buying the dips on Bitcoin. I will be buying dips on altcoins, because believe me, if Bitcoin falls to about 35k, regardless of an altcoin season or not, we will see altcoins fall. Some altcoins will fall after this altcoin season. Why? Because Bitcoin will continue going sideways in a potential distribution here for the next little while, right? Which would be super healthy for altcoins, and that's how we could see the altcoin run. And then all of a sudden, maybe we start breaking a bit of change of structure and start breaking down and coming down to lower levels, getting oversold on the daily. And when that happens, when we start breaking down, altcoin season over, everything will start falling, including altcoins, and usually altcoins fall a lot harder than Bitcoin. That would be our last opportunity to potentially get into altcoins for one last move, and then we start moving to the upside for the bull run. Guys, it would be in perfect timing for the bull run. Remember, the bull run's around the corner. We should get right into that in about April, and that way we can start seeing some green price action to the upside with a lot more confidence after Bitcoin gives us that confirmation low. All right, guys, so overall pretty good. Let Bitcoin do its thing. I still feel like we could be in a distribution for the next little while we form this bearish divergence, and still we're in the chop zone at about 50% on the RSI, which means that we could go sideways for a little bit longer. If we start getting more confirmations that we're getting oversold, expect a bit of a dip, and that's when we'll pounce and take full advantage. All right, guys, let's take a look at Myria. Obviously, the project for today, given that altcoin season could be around the corner, we got to keep an eye on Ethereum. That's number one. Very important. And keep an eye on Bitcoin dominance. As long as the Bitcoin dominance keeps on falling, guys, we'll talk about it tonight for sure. Join me live. We'll talk about it again, and we'll come up with that plan. We'll keep an eye on the plan. But if the Bitcoin dominance keeps on falling and we see Ethereum showing strength, it's very likely that a lot of altcoins will get their opportunity once again. And you got to admit here, Myria did make a lower low right here, a lower low, a nice pivot point here, a nice bearish divergence right into here, follow through price action, confirmation high. Everything that you need was already accomplished here, and have already retraced pretty decently. Now we're looking at a retracement from its top all the way from the wick all the way to down here, more or less about 60%. Okay, that's a nice fire sale. That's a great opportunity. Now let's look at this from a different perspective. Where are the bulls going to want to step in? You can see that there's a big volume gap here. Okay, look at the volume profile. There's a gap right here, and at the bottom of the gap you're at about 0.005, and at the top of the gap, which we're kind of filling in with this price action, you can see it wasn't always like this was a lot more emptier here at the top. We're filling it in a little bit, but you can see now the weakness begins at about 0.007, but we got a bounce on this horizontal right here. And I put this horizontal in here earlier on before because I seen a bit of a spike in price action right around this level. If you start excluding or getting on lower time frames, you would have seen a little bit of a spike. And sometimes, you know, preparing yourself for that opportunity and that scenario might be the most viable thing. And all of a sudden we do have previous highs, and all of a sudden you start realizing, look, we got a reaction at that point and we could have bottomed out. One thing that I worry about here on the daily is that the momentum has not gotten oversold. So the risk of going into a long at the current moment is that the momentum actually hangs out here in the chop zone for a little bit and then finally comes down to get oversold. And that would be very indicative of an ABC correction to the downside. One wave, corrective move, one wave. And that means that we can actually fall through this volume gap with a bit of confidence and get down to the bearish price target of approximately 0.005. Given the fact that we have some price action looking left to act as support, it's very likely that that happens if we do get oversold. Now, from a bullish perspective, you can use the MACD that shows us the strength in the trend, right? The trend right now is looking to try to get bullish. EMA cross around the corner, perhaps. Is it going to be a fake out? You never know because it didn't cross yet and we didn't get a green histogram just yet. The only thing that I can say is that I'm not really trusting this at the current moment. It looks a little bit finicky. You can zoom in and kind of look at what's happening with these EMA crosses as we speak. It's kind of flattening. It's almost like it wants to open up. This is the daily. The daily candle didn't close yet. So we can see a bit of a scenario where we see this open up again and continue coming down. What I don't like is when I see these histogram bars, they're getting smaller over time, which means that maybe this is meant to stay in the bearish control zone. We left the bullish control zone up in this part of the chart, and all of a sudden we crossed to the downside and we're in the bearish control zone. Maybe we get a bit of a pullback, a small pullback, and then continue for another leg down and stay in the bearish control zone for a little bit longer here on the daily, giving us that opportunity to buy the dip at a better zone, which would be again back at the 0.005. And we're still talking about the daily here, guys. So the MACD is looking quite okay. If it gets to cross, gets one green histogram bar, I'm a bit skeptical again because the RSI is in the chop zone and it could get oversold. So what am I saying here? Now's not a bad time to take risk, but you gotta understand that there is risk, and what the risk is that it gets oversold, that the price gets oversold and comes down further. So you already got a good fire sale of about 60%. Let's look at the 4 hour for a second here. It's in the chop zone and it might be looking for an overbought condition very soon, which means that we could get a nice pop and continue this little grind to the upside. Remember, A, B, C, maybe the wave to the upside, the B wave to the upside might get overbought. Really good opportunity to get into an overbought condition. It could even come up as high as about 1.2 cents, something like that. Really good confirmation high, a lower high after a shoulder, multiple shoulders, maybe in one last shoulder, and then finally you start rolling over and breaking this neckline and coming down. And if that were to be the case, again, the bearish target would be about 0.005. You can see a lot of confluence in this TA. That ultimately in the short term on the 4 hour, I'm expecting a bit of a bounce, a bit of relief to the upside. But the daily, as long as the daily continues looking like this, and it doesn't, and it just keeps on hanging out like that, and we're not oversold, I'm still going to be very reserved for that oversold opportunity. But it doesn't mean that you can basically make an entry on the 4 hour, and you never know. Based on the 4 hour move, we can get a nice pop to the upside and actually make higher highs like we've been seeing in the last little while. A lot of these altcoins look like they're going to be bearish, but they invalidate all kinds of bearish technical analysis, and then all of a sudden maybe altcoin season comes around and all of a sudden you would have wished to buy the dip. Just remember, right now this thing is on a 60% fire sale from its top, and it's not bad in a good horizontal level of support. What I would be doing is DCA, 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 all into this zone, little by little, overall build a position, because I know a lot of people bought here at the bottom here on the channel. In fact, this is where we covered Myria at the beginning, in the summer, where where I was scaling in, the majority of my bags are all the way down here. The reality is at this level, people are going to be looking to take profits as any sign of weakness. And as soon as we make a confirmation high, an attempt for another high, and it's lower than this high, guys, trust me, the people that bought there at the bottom are going to be exiting their positions for a bigger dip, and the bigger dip could come down here. All right, guys, if I've offered you any value in this video, do the channel a massive favor. Slap that like button. It does really help out with the algorithm. Don't forget, I'm going to be live tonight at 7:30 Eastern talking about crypto news and price action. If you have any projects you want me to cover, that is a great time and place to make any requests, and I'll put your requests in top priority. Guys, join that Discord. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. Take care, guys. Have a good one. And don't forget, buy the dip.